Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1987 Mercedes-Benz AMG Hammer Coupé. Now, the saloon version of this was introduced in 1986, this Coupé version followed the year later, and both of which are based on the W124 E-Class Mercedes. And this represented a rare pre-partnership combination of AMG tuning and engineering with Mercedes-Benz reliability and prestige. And you've basically got to thank this car for every subsequent Mercedes-Benz AMG tuned vehicle, as this really did set a trend. And it's a car that was custom ordered, so it wasn't a car that you'd see in a showroom per se. You had to custom order it, so that means numbers of these vehicles really are hard to come by. But each one did cost around $160,000. Probably could even spend even more than that, which is a lot even for a car for today, never mind back in 1987. But you did get a lot for your money. You got, a typically luxurious Mercedes with plenty of room inside and all of the usual gadgets that you'd expect on a high-end car from the period. You've got a automatic gearbox, you've got cruise control, you've got climate control, all of that lot basically, and all nicely appointed in leather and lots of wood. And it's also got plenty of room in the rear there, as you can see, and it's also got plenty of room in the boot, again also nice to see, making this a really rather practical coupe. And it's also got a rather formidable engine. Being an AMG car, that it comes as no surprise, but even for 1987 this was one of the largest and most powerful engines going. So it's a 6-litre V8 engine producing 379 horsepower and 417 pounds-feet of torque, which is a lot. And it also has 32 valves, 4 valves per cylinder, and twin camshafts to go along with it. So it's far from a low revving V8, which was commonplace in the 80s, especially if you were looking at American V8s. But this is a really rather decently high revving engine, and despite having such a large engine and such a large amount of power, it was reasonably economical as well, especially considering this car weighs 3,640 pounds, which is still a lot, but obviously you can get far heavier coupes from Mercedes these days. Problems with it? Well, I'm not a massive fan of the way this car looks at the front. It's those headlights and headlight washer wipers that really are the big drawback with this car. I really don't like them, but the side profile is good. I like the AMG exclusive wheels, and the rear end looks pretty good as well with that slight spoiler lip on the boot lid there. But I also don't like the lack of colour bumpers. Those faded black bumpers really do nothing for me, and it doesn't matter what colour you're in with this car, you can always see them and it just looks cheap. But nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. So with all of that horsepower and a rear wheel drive layout, there's plenty of oversteer when you really do give this car a good old poke. But it's easily one of my current favourite cars. And plenty of reasons for that, but one reason is the engine noise, which I'll let you listen to for a little bit.
Arrived at your destination.
So pretty formidable in terms of its engine noise. Doesn't have the best brakes, but it is far more nimble than you'd expect from my 80s Mercedes, especially one that weighs as much as this. And with all of that power and torque, this really does shift in terms of acceleration. 0 to 60 in 5.016 seconds, 0 to 112 seconds, and it'll go into a reported top speed of 178, though you can get it up to 198 on this game, which is easily one of the fastest cars from the time. Only 2 other cars I can think of that are quicker than this car from the 80s, and that's the Porsche 959 and the Ferrari F40. So pretty formidable in terms of its speed, to be honest. And handles really rather nicely as well. It's obviously not going to be as sharp as say a supercar from the period, but if you compare it to say a Aston Martin V8 Vantage, which is also has a higher amount of V8 power, and rear wheel drive and is extremely luxurious. This handles far better than that Aston Martin. Now granted, I do prefer the Aston Martin because it's got links to James Bond. It's got a far better sounding engine as far as I'm concerned. It's got more horsepower, though it does have more weight, and yeah, I think it looks better as well. So yeah, I do prefer that Aston Martin, but I am extremely glad that they've put this car in the game, because we do not have any 80s Mercedes-Benz on this game, and we haven't on any previous Forza game either. We have had one racing car from them from the 80s, but this is the first road car we've had from Mercedes-Benz from the 80s. So yeah, I am really glad that we finally have one, even if it isn't a stock version. But if you're gonna have a non-stock version of Mercedes-Benz, then this is the one to go for, really, because yeah, huge amounts of power, plenty of acceleration and speed, great sounding V8 engine, which is thankfully naturally aspirated, and yeah, plenty of good handling as well on the go to go with it. And all I have problems with it really are the looks from the front, those nasty faded black bumpers, and kind of the fact it's got an automatic gearbox, but I can deal with that considering it's got so much power and so much torque that it really doesn't matter that it's an automatic gearbox with long ratios, because the engine just really does eat up the miles, eats up the revs, and yeah, it's so quick and so good in terms of its noise that you're really not bothered about the automatic gearbox. Basically, this is a Coupé version of the Bentley Turbo R in a lot of ways, because it also has a silly automatic gearbox, but it's also got a large powerful V8, it's got rear wheel drive, it's luxurious, and yeah, it's huge fun to drive, and yeah, this is pretty much along the same lines as that, and I'm really glad it's in the game, as yeah, not only is it our first 80s road car from Mercedes, but yeah, it's also a car that we've never seen on a Forza game before either. So yeah, win-win, quite frankly. And you get this car by doing a free race championship, easy enough to do, and yeah, then it's all yours. And yeah, highly recommend getting it, because yeah, it's hugely fun to drive. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.